Hello and welcome to another modern deck tech here on Cheap SMTG. Today we're bringing you a brew that I found whilst playing some one-on-one modern games on Magic Online. The deck creator that I played against goes by the name of Because Logic 1, so full credit for the deck goes to him. The deck is quintessentially a combo deck that looks to cheat out Blightsteel Colossus as quickly as possible. We do this using the card from Scars of Mirrodin, Shape Anew. Shape Anew allows us to sacrifice an artifact, and then we reveal the top cards of our library until we hit another artifact and put that artifact into play. So what we need to do is we need to have a deck with very few artifacts in it, preferably only Blightsteel Colossus, and then ways to get artifacts into play that aren't artifacts themselves. So naturally we're going to play 2 copies of Blightsteel Colossus. It's tempting in decks like this just to play the singleton copy. You obviously don't need all 4. We've gone with 2 Blightsteel Colossus though, because whilst it does have indestructible and gets shuffled back into your deck if it gets put in the graveyard somehow, it is weak to Path to Exile, which is a commonly played removal spell in Modern. So we play 2 as just a backup, and obviously we play 4 copies of Shape Anew. It's very important to find this card, even if we only want to play 1 or 2 of it. So how do we get artifacts into play without playing actual artifacts? First one, we're going to play 4 copies of Thraben Inspector. Thraben Inspector gives us a clue token, which is an artifact. So it's very nice. It's a 1-mana 1/2 that we can sack the clue to bring out a Blightsteel Colossus. We also play 2 copies of Blade Splicer. Blade Splicer, of course, brings along a 3/3 Golem artifact creature token. We're also going to play an actual artifact in this deck that isn't Blightsteel Colossus. We're going to play 2 copies of Apocryphite. Apocryphite is a great artifact to sacrifice. It's not terrible if you hit it with Shape Anew. You will get a 4/4. It's very difficult to get rid of. It's just an all-round pretty good card in this kind of deck. And I think it's worth taking the risk of hitting it off Shape Anew because it makes the deck so much better. We're also going to play 2 copies of Flickerwisp. Whilst Flickerwisp isn't necessarily the plan A of this deck, with cards like Thraben Inspector and Blade Splicer and Apocryphite, we have a lot of ways to gain value by blinking creatures, and it gives us a plan B if for some reason we can't go on the Shape Anew plan. We also play 4 copies of Path to Exile. I think it's important that modern decks have some form of interaction, and in blue-white colours you're looking really at Path to Exile and counterspells. I think I'd just prefer to go with Path. It's very cheap and efficient removal spell for the format. As we're quintessentially a combo deck, we want to play a lot of cards that help us to find our combo. We'll start with 4 copies of Peer Through Depths. This allows us, for 2 mana, to look at the top 5 cards of our library and put an instant or sorcery card from amongst them into our hand. The rest go on the bottom of our library. This obviously will help us find our Shape Anew. We also play 3 copies of Thirst for Knowledge. The reason we're playing Thirst for Knowledge over other cards, say Telling Time, is that Thirst for Knowledge allows us to discard a Blightsteel Colossus if we get one stuck in our hand. And obviously discarding Blightsteel Colossus puts it back into our library, which is where we want it. It also allows us to draw 3 cards for 3 mana, which is quite a reasonable rate. We play playsets of Serum Visions and Sleight of Hand. Cheap card selection in a combo deck is quite important, gives us some early plays. We're also going to play 3 copies of Augur of Bolas. So this slot is all about slowing down your opponent while getting some sort of card advantage. It's quite common for this slot to go to something like Wall of Omens. It obviously works very well with Flickerwisp. We've gone for Augur of Bolas as a 1/3 in Modern isn't that different to a 0/4. The only time it really will be different is when you have a Tarmogoyf that's a 3/4. But Augur of Bolas allows us to pick 1 card from the top 3. It's better card selection than Wall of Omens. It still works nicely with Flickerwisp. And in a pinch, it is another win condition. On to the mana base. Thus far, we're a strictly 2-colour deck. We have a lot of blue requirements with some double white. We're going to play 8 fetch lands. We're going to play 4 Flooded Strand and 4 Polluted Delta. Polluted Delta can be practically any fetch land that has blue in it. You could play fetch lands that have white in it here, but I think you're more likely to want to be fetching a basic island than a basic plains. We're also going to play 4 copies of Hallowed Fountain, 3 copies of Seachrome Coast, 2 copies of Glacial Fortress. These are our blue-white dual lands that help fix our mana. We're probably going to want to have at least 2 of these out in most games, just because we have Flicker Wisp. We're also going to play a single copy of Watery Grave. This is a nod to one of the cards in the sideboard, but otherwise it's our only black requirement, and we've got 8 ways of finding it, so I think that's reasonable. And we also play 2 islands and 2 plains as enough basics to play around Blood Moon. Onto the sideboard. Again, just an illustrative sideboard here, some cards you may want to consider. We'll start with the hate cards of the format. Stony Silence, Rest in Peace, Leyline of Sanctity. These are cards that I pretty much consider in any white deck. Rest in Peace is very important now, given the re-emergence of Living End and the fact that Dredge hasn't quite died off. We also could play some copies of Lingering Souls. Lingering Souls is a very good card in grindy matchups. Doesn't particularly have that many synergies with the deck, but it is just a powerful card, and it's the reason why we have a black source in the main deck. If you want some extra removal, then something like Condemn has come to the fore in recent times due to the popularity of Death Shadow. Condemn is a great way of getting one off the board, but also killing any more that may be lingering around. You're probably going to want to play some copies of Dispel. When you play a combo deck like this, you can be quite weak to control decks. Dispel is going to be our backup there. And we're also going to play some copies of Sundering Growth or other disenchant effects, because this deck's quite weak to Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage says cards can't enter play from players' libraries, which is what we're doing, so we need a way to get rid of it. And obviously we're going for Sundering Growth because we have a few tokens lying around to populate is reasonable on it. It is double white, is a negative over, say, actual disenchant, but I think the mana base can pull it off. So that's the deck tech. What do you think? If you are interested, there is a deck list in the description below that you can click on, and it is nicely written out, along with prices. The deck is reasonably affordable. You can certainly make it cheaper by cutting, say, the fetch lands and some of the cards in the sideboard, like Leyline of Sanctity. If you do like the deck, remember to give us a thumbs up. Also remember to subscribe to the channel. There are more deck techs in the works. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. They're both at cheapassmtg. It's lovely to interact with you on there. And I hope that you'll join us for future videos.